In this topic, we will focus on the information required for making travel arrangements. So making bookings is the same as taking bookings, just in that you're now the one requesting the service rather than the one providing the service. As an administrator, you will most likely need to make bookings of venues at some point in time. Now, being equipped with the knowledge of taking bookings, the person you're requesting the service from will need to provide you with the details as you needed to provide them with the details when you took the booking. You will then need the same tools to ensure you document the booking you made. It is important when making air travel bookings that you ensure to gather all necessary information first before making the bookings. So the person you're making the booking to will receive a request from you, and then you'd need to gather the information. So you receive the request from your manager who needs to take a flight. Now, in the case of businesses, there's usually a standard policy outlining set standards in terms of accommodation and travel. Things like what type of flights can be booked, economy and or business class are allowed, and all the price range of the flight costs. Accommodation rates will be stipulated in line with the general tourism grading standards. For instance, whether you're allowed to book a 2, a 3 or a 4-star accommodation. In most cases, where companies fly on a regular basis, they will have regular companies who they fly with and accommodations where they stay. The same policy will apply to car hire. Now, the information you'll gather from the person requested is the full names and ID number if you don't have it, when they need to fly, alternative dates and times, if they'll need a car hire, and the preferred accommodation. Once you've gathered all the relevant information, contact the relevant airline and booking agency as per the standard procedures. Give the airline and or agency the relevant information as gathered. This would most likely cover all that is needed by the agency or airline. Request times and dates as gathered. If nothing is available for the requested times, use alternatives as sourced from the gathering information process. Usually, this requires a quick judgment from the administrator or what would suit the requester. This is why we gather alternatives and then make the booking. Once you've made the booking from the airline and or booking agency, you should receive the following documentation. A document stipulating the full names and ID number of the person flying, the date and time of departure, the check-in time, the required documentation for flight, prohibited items list that may not be taken on the flight, and return details of the flight. Then once you've received the booking documents from the airline and or agency, communicate the document to the relevant person via email and or print, then give them a copy. Because you are the administrator and were responsible for the booking, ensure to document the booking in your calendar to make sure that you are in touch with your manager's comings and goings. For car rental bookings, the same booking procedure applies. It only differs in that the information that is gathered varies. Information that you'll either gather and or receive from the car rental company. The name of the person collecting the car, the documents required, where the car should be collected, what type of car will be available, date and time for collecting the car, date, time and place for returning the car, conditions for car rental, including insurance arrangements, price paid per kilometer traveled, and costs for refueling the car, including driver's licenses, of course, need to be there, and in some cases the person needs to present the credit card with which the car was paid. Booking of accommodation is done in the same manner as for flight and car rental. As mentioned, if it is a common travel occurrence, companies would have certain accommodation where they stay regularly. It might not look like the one that you see on the screen right there. I'm sure they won't be very happy with you if you book them in accommodation like that, huh? They'd want one with a pool and a jacuzzi. All right, check the standards. In the case that it is a new destination where the person is going to, check the policies to make sure of ratings. check the internet for accommodation close to the destination, phone the organization, gather additional information like the amenities, dinner, breakfast, etc., and make a decision and book the accommodation. If a procedure is not working and there are some aspects that are not in line with other systems, like the airline systems and car rental booking systems, you'd need to analyze, evaluate, and decide on appropriate amendment. Let's say, for instance, car rental prices have gone up drastically and policies only allow for 500 Rand rental costs on a car and a Class B now costs 1,000 Rand. The policy will then need to be amended. However, this is usually why organizations generally use categories when creating policies for flight and car rental as well as accommodation. Why? Because this is linked then to a category rather than to a price. So even if the price goes up, it is still within the policy. And that's a wrap for topic 2 in cluster 6. Making bookings and taking bookings are dealt with using the same processes. Policies for flight and travel arrangements should be adhered to and bookings made accordingly. Booking a flight and car rental is the same process, just the information gathered and or required is different. If procedures are no longer applicable, analyze, evaluate, suggest possible alternatives, gain approval and implement the amendment.